Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well, and it's time for a review of the new Felix Blume album, Death in Haiti, funeral brass bands and sounds from Port-au-Prince. This is a new album from sound artist and, I guess, field recorder Felix Blume, someone who, before this record, I wasn't even vaguely familiar with. But this album doesn't necessarily require that you are. It's a series of on-site recordings at a number of different Haitian funerals strung together across the album as if you're kind of listening to or experiencing one single one. Sort of like in a long-running clip show, but the most time, or what seems like the most expansive recordings, are handed over to the brass band bits. Of course, there are quite a few brass band performances on this thing, but there's a lot more than that as well. Sounds of people weeping and crying and screaming their heads off, giving final or last words. Sounds of piano playing and the wake itself. And I'm not really sure what to say about it beyond that. I just felt like I needed to come on camera here and shout this record out because listening to this was such an interesting and a unique experience. I mean, it's obviously not like any commercial music album you're going to hear, and a bulk of what is actually on this record isn't even just strictly music. Some of it is just merely talking or commiserating or just the goings-on, the audio of the goings-on at this funeral. It's less like an album and more like a mini auditory documentary. And given that that's the case, it's kind of hard to critique it in the same way that one normally would any other record. Am I supposed to come on here and say, oh, the people weren't crying loudly enough or something? You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not trying to disrespect what's being contained in this album. I'm just kind of merely saying that I'm in a bit of a conundrum here in talking about this album, in that I can't go about it in the same way that I do any other record, because it's not like any other record. Not that this thing is the first album of field recordings or the first record to document a real-life event, it's not, but it's certainly the first one I've wanted to review on this channel. But what I guess I can say is that the recording of this record is very good. It gives you a very intense and vivid sense of place of everything going on. And the brass music featured on this record has an incredibly unique sound. There's a variety of different pieces, some of which have a more mournful tone, others that are a little bit more joyous, but there's always a kind of weird, sour, surreal character to some of the performances on this thing. It's kind of like the musicians themselves in the band are on the verge of just like breaking up emotionally, and it's kind of coming through in the music. Especially when the band as a unit sounds like it's about to crumble and just fall apart. Pretty much every brass piece and performance on this thing I found to be really intriguing, enthralling, fantastic, and all the tracks surrounding these moments essentially tell a very rich story of a long-standing Haitian funeral tradition. It's a listening experience unlike anything I've heard this year. That's most likely going to be the case for a lot of you as well, and I can't really say anything else about it outside of it's not for the faint of heart, and I highly recommend it. Transition, have you given this album a listen? If you did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Hit it over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up, or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Felix Blume, forever.